I have the balls to say things that nobody else has the balls to say.
Hello to the peaceful people of the world. Thanks for coming back again. I have a good show for you guys. This video is going to be focusing on an incident that happened in DC a couple of weeks ago, and it involved a car hijacking. Two black girls aged 13 and 15. The result of the car hijacking resulted in a Pakistani immigrant aged 66, Mohammad Anwar. He died later in the hospital. I'm going to show you how the media portrayed it and how it should have been portrayed.
Two teen girls have been charged with felony murder in the death of Mohammad Anwar after they assaulted him with a stun gun and then drove off with his car while he was still clinging to the side. The girls eventually crashed the car while Anwar was still hanging on, and he died. Yeah, Dagan, I saw CNN tweeted out some story about this and made this sound like just one big accident. Like, accidents happen.
That was actually the word that they used, led to an accident in which this immigrant from Pakistan with a family was fatally injured. No, it's felony murder. And one of the girls, if you want to use that word, was what she said was, "My phone's in the car. Please, my phone is in there. My phone is in there." After this man was murdered.
All right, Dana, give you the last word.
Yeah, Mohammed was doing what these girls should have been doing. He was working. He worked for Uber Eats, right? The delivery guys and gals have been some of the heroes of the pandemics, getting people what they want, what they need, because they couldn't go to restaurants, they couldn't leave their homes, and he was working in order to help take care of his family. So where's the protest for him, Jesse?
I don't expect to see it, and that's a shame, because there should be.
We have an article from the Daily Mail that says two teen girls accused of carjacking and killing an Uber Eats driver in DC reach plea deal with prosecutor ensuring they will not be held past the age of 21 nor be placed in a prison facility. The article goes on to saying two girls ages 13 and 15 who were charged with the murder and carjacking of a Mohammad Anwar, 66, in DC have reportedly reached a plea deal. On Monday, the teens are set to have reached the deal with prosecutors that would ensure they won't be held past age of 21 nor be placed in a prison facility. Anwar died when police said the girls, armed with a taser, sped off his car as he clung to the driver's side with the door open and crashed seconds later.
Now, the reason I'm showing you all of this is because I want to talk about the media angle of it. This was the main driver of it. So do you remember about, what was it, about 10 days ago or so? Barely. And it's hard to remember things from 10 days ago because that's part of the process here. We just keep memory holding things, and the media just keeps spinning and spinning and spinning and spinning. But you remember there was the shooting in Atlanta of the massage parlors, and it happened to be a 21-year-old white kid who did it. He says, and law enforcement is saying, that it was because he had a sex addiction and he just went to shoot people. He shot 8 people. 6 of them happened to be Asian. 2 of them were white. But the media ran with, and let's show the headline. This is the CNN headline on it. "White supremacy and hate are haunting Asian Americans." Now, there was literally no evidence to prove that this had anything to do with white supremacy or that he was a white supremacist or anything else. Now, again, you guys all know that it's actually the left, the woke left, that is racist against Asian people with quotas and keeping them out of schools and jobs and things of that nature. But that was the headline, okay? So a white guy shot 6 Asian people and 2 white people, and it fit the narrative they wanted to craft, which is that this is about white supremacy hunting down Asian Americans. Now, yesterday what happened was those happened to be 2 young black girls, and they killed a Pakistani man. Now, his name's Mohammed, so I assume he probably was Muslim. It's actually completely irrelevant to me. But I think we know what would happen if it was 2 white people that say killed a man named Mohammed. Okay, but listen to the headline on CNN from yesterday about this. Police said girls 13 and 15 assaulted an Uber Eats driver with a taser while carjacking him, which led to an accident in which he was fatally injured. I know Chris isn't going to be happy with me. Fuck you, CNN. Fuck you. the dishonest drivel that you are pushing on the American people is actually evil at this point. This type of fake news, and that is what this is actually driving a wedge in our ability to have a functional, decent society. Let me read that headline again. Police said girls 13 and 15 assaulted an Uber Eats driver with a taser while carjacking him, which led to an accident in which he was fatally injured. Well, police said it. We know. It's not just what police said. We know it happened because we saw it on video. And it led to an accident. One of the girls was stealing the car, and the man was standing there on the ledge and ended up getting killed. But the reason you wrote the headline this way, CNN, is because it doesn't fit the narrative. In this case, it was two black girls killing this Pakistani man, this Pakistani American, and it doesn't fit the narrative. And that's why this story is important to cover, because so much of our division and our hatred is driven by a mainstream media that has nothing to do with journalism. These people are not journalists. And the problem for all of us that are somewhat free thinking and somewhat red-pilled and somewhat awake is, what do we do knowing that so many people are still swallowing that nonsense? I don't know exactly what the answer is, but I'm really interested in finding it out, and I'm going to keep talking about it. I want
this story get more coverage.
Gee, I can tell you, it's not that I would say it's top of the front page or top of mind for everybody in Washington, but people are talking about it, Jesse. I think in part what it is it's tragic. I mean, you got these teenage girls. I mean, they're little kids. They're not gangsters. They're not hardened criminals. I don't think they intended to kill anybody. They were looking to have a joyride. And it just went way wrong, way out of control, and ended up in a gross tragedy. I mean, this is unbelievable. Their lives are ruined.
Well, they brought a stun gun, so usually you don't bring a stun gun to a joyride. But go ahead.
I just think, correct. I mean, it's like, kids finding guns in their parents' house. I don't know what to say, Jesse. It's awful. It's a terrible situation.
So the question is, why would these girls do it? And Juan's answer is, that maybe they weren't trying to carjack the guy, and maybe they actually weren't just callously disregarding his life. Maybe they wanted to go for a joyride. And then Jesse Waters says, well, they brought a stun gun with them. Yeah, well, maybe their parents just left that around. And maybe it was all a big accident. Maybe it was all a big misunderstanding. Maybe they're really good kids. Maybe the simplest answer is the correct one. Maybe they're just bad kids, and we all have fallen, broken nature, and some people turn out worse than others. And maybe they just did a very evil thing because they had evil motivations and they don't care about human life, and they at the very least need to be locked up forever. There's this concept of Occam's razor, which, without being too elaborate about it, is this idea that all things being equal, the simplest explanation for a phenomenon should be preferred to unnecessarily complex answers for it. What happened to that in our culture? Why can't we go back to Occam's culture? Why is it that if I look at a little boy and he looks like a little boy and he has all the body parts of a little boy and his DNA is that of a little boy, why do I have to be confused about that and say, well, we don't know? Why can't we just accept what is obviously true before our eyes? If our country, that we are now told is the worst country in the world and it's the source of evil in the world and we need to destroy our country and open up the borders and we owe everything to everybody, why is it that everyone from the rest of the world wants to come here? Why is it that we have to have such a robust security system on our border? Why is it that millions of people come here every single year? Is it possible that the simplest solution is the correct one? Is it possible that we're just a good country and an attractive place to live and have your life and raise your family? Is that possible? No. Somehow we are preferring the most ridiculous Rube Goldberg complex answers to the common sense and the obvious solutions that we can see before our very eyes.
With regard to the mayor's tweet, again, look, I think that what we have seen in recent months is an increase in carjackings, car thefts in this area. And so for her to say, be cautious, I don't think that was the wrong note, as you suggest. Maybe you wanted to hear her condemn the kids. I don't know. But I think it's good for us all to be cautious as we see a rise in this kind of crime.
Okay, so how did the mayor of Washington, D.C. respond to this? Respond to the fact that her city is in the midst of a massive crime wave, in part created by her own crappy anti-police policy? Muriel Bowser instead released a video about how you prevent auto theft. Right? That was her response. Her response was not, we have a systemic crime problem here. Her response was not about racism or race Whereas we know for a fact that it is a simple fact that if Mohammad Anwar had been killed by 2 white teenagers, that would be a national news story. This is not. This is a local news story because of the race of the people involved. And the DC mayor would not be talking about the threat of auto theft if these had been 2 white teenagers who killed a Muslim man. She would be talking about white supremacist hate against Muslims in the United States. Because again, the narrative matters more than the explicit data on any particular story. So Muriel Bowser shared a video on, quote, preventing auto thefts amid her silence on the death of Mohammad Anwar, who died just days ago after 2 teen girls allegedly tasered him to steal his vehicle. She wrote on Twitter on Sunday, quote, auto theft is a crime of opportunity. Follow these steps to reduce the risk of your vehicle becoming a target. Remember the motto, protect your auto. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. Apparently it was a pre-scheduled tweet, but if that's a pre-scheduled tweet, that is the worst timed pre-scheduled tweet I have ever seen in my entire life. Now, of course, this is not a national news story. A week from now, you will not remember Mohammad Anwar's name. You won't. Because crimes that are far more common than what happened with regard to George Floyd and Derek Chauvin, which again, may or may not be a crime, according to the black letter definition of the law. Okay, crimes that are much more common get ignored, even though those crimes are much more of a problem. Carjackings, racist crimes against Muslim Americans that don't come from white Americans, racist crimes against Asian Americans that don't come from white Americans, right? Those are stories that won't get covered from the media. They just will not be covered. And if they are covered, they will be covered in a way that avoids any sort of racial angle on them, because the only racial angle that we're allowed to discuss in the United States is, of course, white hate crime against everybody else in the United States.
Young kids, often not yet at an age where they could obtain a learner's permit, are committing unthinkable acts of brutality against totally innocent people who pose no threat to them. Now, whenever there's a mass shooting of random victims in a school or some other public place, we generally will turn our attention to it and we'll engage in serious conversation and debate about what can be done to stop the bloodshed. But these smaller scale acts of casual sadism are much more common and widespread. They happen literally every day in our cities. Many more people are killed. Many more communities are terrorized. You know, during Trump's administration, his critics were fond of responding to whatever he did or tweeted by saying, this isn't normal. This isn't normal. Well, I wish the same could be said of a 13-year-old murdering a man for his car. I wish I could say this isn't normal, but it is. It's normal. The murder rate in most major cities attests to that. It is normal, but it shouldn't be. Now, it's not difficult to identify some of the factors that have made these kinds of things normal. It can be assumed without even checking. We can assume right now, and I'm willing to say right now, my guess, without looking, is that most or all of the kids involved in the crimes that I just listed have been raised in homes without fathers. We know that right off the bat. This is the case for the majority of black children, especially in the city. And it's increasingly the case for children of all races as unwed parenthood becomes more and more common. Compounding the problem, many kids spend their days marinating in the nihilistic filth produced by half-literate sociopaths like Cardi B. The rapper Lil Nas X made waves this past week when he released a music video which shows him sliding down to hell on a stripper pole and giving a lap dance to Satan. The video was accompanied by the release of his new, quote, Satan shoes, which feature a pentagram and actual human blood in the shoe. Lil Nas X, who cultivated a large fan base of children with his first hit, Old Country Road, or rather Old Town Road, I think it was called, which itself was vapid, brain-numbing garbage. And I said as much, if you may remember, on this show when that song was popular. But he had a lot of children fans because of that dumb, awful song. And now he's trying desperately to shock us with a shtick that really wasn't even all that shocking when Marilyn Manson did it 25 years ago. Now, the only difference is that Marilyn Manson never pretended to be an artist for kids. This dirtbag did. So he had a whole lot of kids subscribing to his YouTube channel, and then without warning, he drops the video of him giving a lap dance to Satan. Bunch of 9-year-olds watched that this weekend without their parents knowing. Still, the content itself only fails to shock us because we're so accustomed to living in a culture where putrid, toxic sludge is pumped out of Hollywood and the music industry and directly into our children's minds. This is the situation that many millions of kids find themselves in. They have no moral guidance at home. They consume a media diet of non-stop perversity and degeneracy. They live lives that are 90% online, conditioned to see other humans as disembodied avatars on a screen. There's no beauty in their lives, no truth, no goodness, no joy, no love. That's another prediction I can make about all those kids we talked about earlier. How can we be surprised when they turn into killers and criminals.
Before, but now when you don't have any real punishment for a crime, when you don't have any real penalty for what you do, you go out there and you become more brazen and more bold. So rather than just what Juan Williams said, taking a joyride, okay, now I'm going to have an arm on me. I'm going to have a taser, maybe even the pistol or whatever it is, and I'm going to be violent in my carjacking. So when the guy dies on the ground, I don't even really care. Where's my phone at? I'm going to go do the next carjacking and robbery. Not even understanding the seriousness of the situation, not even really caring, because there's never any penalties. The parents don't care. Parents not even really involved. No supervision, no nothing. So you have these animals, these just inhuman beings going out there and doing the same stuff over and over again. So don't be surprised if you were from the beginning. Don't be surprised that these girls are getting slaps on the wrist. No penitentiary time. They'll be out by the time they turn 21. And they're already like 14, 15, 16 right now. So that'll be a very short period of time. You could kill a man, totally innocent, for no reason. Okay, you try to carjack the man, you could get all about 100 feet before this man end up dying. What you gonna say to the family? Like, this is all too common in the black community. And if you really want to put a dent in the crime, if you really want to put a dent in all the violence we see, how about just not giving slaps on the wrist and trying to give these poor girls a chance and all this? Anybody got time for that? Nobody got time for that. I'm not saying give somebody 30 years in the penitentiary for a joint of weed. I'm not saying that. But maybe if somebody kills somebody, okay, charge them with murder, maybe, just maybe, let them go to the penitentiary, big rocks, little rocks. You didn't kill somebody. You didn't carjack somebody, home invaded, pistol whipping. Maybe you should get more than a slap on the wrist for such egregious and violent crimes, just maybe. But I think I'm
sure wouldn't agree with that. I have no doubt that, look, these girls are past the age of reason. So to some degree, they have some understanding of the moral order and some control over their will. And they chose to do this horrific thing, commit this horrific murder, and show horrific callousness afterwards when they cared more about their stupid cell phone than about the man they had just killed. Also, I have no doubt that to some degree, these girls had some weird upbringing. I bet something went wrong somewhere. Look, I don't know. I don't know their family history. I don't know whether they had a normal, stable family. I don't know whether they had a father in the house. I know statistics, so I know it doesn't look great. I don't know their schooling. I don't know whether they were brought to church on Sunday. I don't know any of these things. But it would seem to me, likely at least, that if you commit this kind of a crime, something went wrong somewhere. Some parent failed and some teacher failed somewhere. Probably. Sure. That is not an excuse to let injustice reign and to let these two murderous teenagers off the hook. They should, at the very least, be put away for life. I think there's no question about that, at the very, very least. That is an act of compassion. And I think that when we call for justice, we can do so in a compassionate way, because justice is not evil and it's not cruel. It is good. That is what justice is.
A 13 and 15-year-old is carjacking people in broad daylight. Where is their daddy? Every time I see this, where's your dad? I don't care where your mama at. Where is your dad? Oh, that's exactly why you out here carjacking people. You ain't got a dad. And if the joker's around here, a piece of crap. If you don't teach your children better than this. So they get the guy. Nobody's helping. I can't play the video because it's too graphic. Nobody's helping. Why are people standing around filming? This should have never been caught on camera, because nobody should be filming this. People should be actively trying to stop these kids from carjacking this man. Good Samaritans. These people are cowards. They sit there and they video record it. They could have saved this man's life and these kids from going to prison for life. Because if they would have just got caught right here, maybe they would have ran. Or maybe they got caught here. Attempted carjacking is very different than murder. And then once they murdered a man, nobody rendered aid. I didn't see anybody render aid. Everybody was afraid. Like they didn't want to do anything with nothing. I saw military. I don't know what they were doing. I'm assuming that they were actual military personnel because they had on the fatigue military personnel running around confused. Like they don't know what's going on. They don't have no first responder instincts at all. They're helping the girls get out the car. Okay, after that, you see the man face down, still struggling. At least go and make an approach to tend to him. Maybe there's something you can do. Now some people may criticize me and say, well, there's nothing you can do. He all bent up and maybe moving him or hurt him more. Maybe not. The little girls had no compassion. He's laying there. They walk around him to get a cell phone. My cell phone is stuck in the car. They didn't even help the man. This is crazy to me.
Well, that's it for this video. I hope you guys got lots of information from it. And I'm going to leave you with a pipe bomb, like we always do here. And this is from Terrence K. Williams. And he will be talking about the same topic.
What happened to this man is beyond heartbreaking. This is just beyond sad. This man died in cold blood because two ghetto teenagers wanted to steal a car. Because two thuggish teenagers wanted to steal something that was not theirs. This man did not deserve to die in cold blood. This man was out working, delivering food. He didn't deserve to die. He didn't deserve for his car to be stolen. He didn't deserve none of that. This man was in his 60s. 60s. I think the man was, 66 or something years old. This is absolutely crazy. In the mainstream media, they quiet. They don't have nothing to say. They always got something to say, and that is what's pissing me off right now. It's because they always have something to say, but they want to be quiet on this. Where you at, Don Lemon? Don Lemon, you should be talking about this every single day. Where you at? Why is the man... I don't even know why I'm even asking that question. I don't even know why I'm asking that question. I know why. Because it don't fit none of their narratives. It's not the perfect narrative for them. If this man was black and two white teenagers robbed him and tried to steal his car while he was working, it'll be all over the news. If two white teenagers killed this man, it'll be all over the news. If he was a black man killed by two white teenagers, it would be all over the news. You would not hear the end of it. It'll be the #1 story in this country. So tell me why in the world this is not the #1 story in this country. Everybody's life matter. His life matter. This man could have been your brother, your father, your grandfather, your uncle. His life mattered too. So where are the protests for this man? I don't see no marching for him. I don't see anything. I don't see them talking about this story every day. It's like it never happened. But if he was black and killed by two whites, it'll be all over the news. Or if two white people did this to him, they'll be screaming racism. This is absolutely disgusting. This man's life mattered too. Then he deserves justice. I won't even play the video of this man being murdered. I won't even play it. I won't play it. No. I can't play it. Out of respect for him and his family, I will not play this man dying in cold blood. But I can tell you this, you can go watch it yourself. And in that video, you will see one of the girls walking right past his dead body, talking about my phone is in there. My phone is in the car. You worried about a phone after this man done died? Disgusting. Disgusting. His life mattered too. All lives matter.